So what are you proposing?
It's simple. Kill the Batman.
Since the last video, we have looked at what makes a great movie trailer in terms of mood and genre, and how this is well executed mostly within horror films. In this video, we'll be exploring how movie trailers set up story through structure. In any trailer, you have less than 2 minutes to sell an idea. As a matter of fact, sell an experience, to show that this film has the potential to be a great film, and that's what movie trailers strive to do. In most cases, trailers are executed just like a feature-length story, into 3 acts. We all know what is the 3-act structure for any story. This includes Act 1 for setup, Act 2 is conflict, and Act 3 is resolution. But when discussing trailers, this formula can be applied in a similar function. Act 1, story setup between the 0 and 1 minute mark. Act 2, present obstacles between the 1 minute and the 1.5 minute mark. And Act 3 is highlights for the last 30 seconds of the trailer. We are going to be analyzing 3 past trailers that were great at executing these steps. Let's first look at story setup in the first minute. In this trailer, we are first introduced to the phrase,
"A king has his reign, and then he dies. It's inevitable."
This is followed by a sequence of 2 scientists discovering a map to the stars. One of the scientists, Elizabeth Shaw, calls this an invitation, followed by the question, an invitation by whom? This is the first minute of the trailer, and there's already a lot to unpack. Before we are introduced to the characters, the theme of the story is already established: mortality and the creation of life. These 2 themes are presented in mysterious ways, presenting the tone of the film, a sci-fi mystery. Then we are introduced to the main character, and the question is imposed on her, an invitation by whom? This question in itself becomes the mystery of the film and the driving force for the film. When presenting obstacles, good trailers reveal the basic challenges and try not to spoil anything too soon.
Whatever that probe is picking up, it's reading life form.
The threat of a life form on a distant planet can be pretty much intriguing for the audience, just as the original Alien. Yet the trailer also takes its time in setting up the new environment and sci-fi elements that are to be introduced. Another thing to add is that since this film takes place in the Alien universe, the trailer offers glimpses of familiar architectures and designs, and this reliance of nostalgia is what intrigued audiences into seeing the film.
There's a ship. They're leaving.
To go where?
Earth.
Something is leaving for Earth. Why is the question you ask, further building this mystery. The last 30 seconds of the trailer is highlights and intense action sequences from the 2nd and 3rd act. This is accompanied with the original Alien soundtrack to build the tension. And the closing tagline.
Big things have small beginnings.
The Prometheus trailer does a good job in setting up the story and the conflict without revealing any twists or plot points, and it was able to highlight the intensity and action that is going to entertain the audience.
And here we go.
The first 40 seconds set up the story, but not through the perspective of Batman himself, but through the Joker, one of the driving forces of the story. So it would make sense to have the villain set up the story in the trailer, with a great opening hooking the audience in. At first we are introduced to 3 essential characters. When the villain talks about the police and lawyers representing order, and how he questions and confronts the criminals, we are introduced to the theme of order and chaos in one visual. And the driving force for the story?
It's simple. Kill the Batman.
We transition into Act 2, moving to Batman's point of view. Here we set up the world of the main character, introducing Harvey Dent and Bruce's emotional connection to Rachel, until Joker enters the picture and unleashes chaos, affecting the city and Batman's world. That is the central conflict of the film. Then we enter Act 3, with a montage of action sequences accompanied by Hans Zimmer's bombastic score. elevating these two opposing forces in the battle for Gotham. This is a trailer that sets up the story through its villain, introduces the hero's world, and how the villain plans to destroy his world, followed by grand action sequences from the second act of the film, with each beat in sync to the score.
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
If you deliberately sabotage my band, I will gut you like a pig.
Since we have already looked at two big budget films and how they market these films, let's shift our attention to something a little bit smaller yet achieves the same effect. In the opening of the Whiplash trailer, we understand who is our main character and what is his desire. We are introduced to his mentor archetype of the film, Fletcher. With the music in the background with the orchestra playing, we understand this film is going to have a musical element in it. The first minute is a typical setup of any feel-good sports drama until the end of Act 1. In one moment, the mentor becomes the antagonist of the film. We now understand what is the conflict of the narrative, and why it is intriguing. We enter Act 2 with a montage of trainer and student. Questions are raised on how far you can push yourself to achieve your dream, and the theme of the film is established by this point. The last 20 seconds is also a montage, with a rising drum beat that ends in an explosion. And of course we cannot forget the raving reviews, the true color of any indie drama. And even though the world or a city is not threatened by a grand villain, the world of the character is grounded on an emotional level. This trailer can show how even a drama can create an exhilarating and thrilling experience about an aspiring drummer in just 2 minutes. Just to recap, typically within the first 30 seconds or a minute of a trailer is to establish the character, their world, and the driving force of the film. This is followed by the second act, where the conflict and the obstacles of the story is introduced. The theme of the story is usually interweaved between the first act or the second act of the trailer, with finally the third act of the trailer that increases the intensity and the action on a physical or emotional level, with the soundtrack elevating in the background, matching the emotional intensity the film will give you in theaters. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more videos where I analyze films, explore script writing, and discuss cinema.